Good evening, and welcome to Rock Solid Radio. I'm Linda Hutchinson, the Executive Director of Rock Solid Families.
And I'm Merrill Hutchinson, President of Rock Solid Families. And we are excited to have you join us for the next 30 minutes as we talk about relationships. A huge shout out to our sponsors. Thank you to Maxwell Construction, Greendale Cinemas, Mansfield Insurance Agency, and Erie Insurance. We are so thankful for these businesses who have made this show possible. So whether you are listening live or online, Rock Solid Radio, helping to strengthen our community one family at a time on your hometown radio, Eagle Country 99.3. Good evening, Eagle Country. Welcome to Rock Solid Radio. Hey, this is Merrill and Linda Hutchinson from Rock Solid Families. Hey, Linda, how are you?
I'm good. How are you tonight, honey?
I'm good. I am good.
Although you just kind of did the shake to kind of shake
I got to get
out.
it all out of me, get ready to rock and roll for a show here. You know, they got lots of built up anxieties and tensions, and so I just shook them all away,
Well,
and
that's
now I'm ready to roll.
Perfect for our topic tonight.
Yeah. Well, so tonight we are going to go off the beaten path a little bit because we've done a real long string of shows on, our mantra, our tagline is faith, family, and fitness. And so we've done a lot with faith and a lot with family and parenting and marriages and things like that. And tonight we're going to kind of come back into my territory a little bit.
Your
and we're going to do
favorite.
some fitness stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's not like we're going to exercise online or anything. So please do not turn us off. I have a friend who literally rejects the whole idea of fitness. So if he's listening tonight, just, hang with us because we're not just talking about going out for a run. We're talking about really personal wellness, hon. I like personal wellness because we're talking about mental health, physical health, spiritual health. Yeah. It's all important.
Yeah, so anyway, we're going to tap into that, and hopefully what we will do is help you not just with maybe fitness, but some of those aches and pains, and the bottom line is just trying to use the body, the temple that we've been given.
That's aging daily.
That's aging and does not restore quite like it used to when we were 15, but to try to just stay healthy so we can do the things we like and to do the work that we're called to do. So anyway, before we do, we better say thank you to our sponsors. We want to thank Maxwell Construction, Greendale Cinemas, Mansfield Insurance Agency, and Erie Insurance. So thank you to these folks who have come behind us, sponsored us, and continue to, they not only help us, but the amount of things that they do out in the community is really cool to watch.
Honey, I was listening to one of our old shows way back in November. I was giving it to a couple, and I was kind of re-listening to ourselves. We were talking about finding balance. And in that was the personal health of ourselves and taking care of our bodies. And I remember we were telling the story about hiking, one of our favorite places in the gorge, and how it's not quite as easy as it used to be 20, 30 years ago. And I was just thinking, but that doesn't mean you should stop doing it just because your body is having a harder time. You still need to be active. You just can't maybe expect the level of performance
we start to modify and accommodate. So, anyway, we'll get into some different things that we've got coming up and some things we just want to highlight about our work with Rock Solid Families. We just a reminder out there that our Strong Dads podcast is up and running.
Every Thursday.
This is a podcast by myself and Kyle Crawford that's directed towards dads. We continue to have a heart for getting a message out. I had a session the other day, and a couple asked me whether I could actually help them. and I was like, well, I don't know. I mean, I guess. And it came down to the idea of who is going to do the work. Who is going to do the work? And I think the question was posed to me because one of the people in the meeting was not real excited about the work and if I could help.
Right.
And so I just kind of had to strip that away and say, there's work here.
Right.
There's work.
I
would this is a coaching business, not just a counseling session where maybe you get a chance to, bleed things out. But instead, this is going to take work. It's going to take commitment. That's what coaching is about. If I'm a coach and I'm going to take my team to the Super Bowl, we all know what the goal is. We're going to the Super Bowl. But now the coach says, okay, what's the plan to get there? And let's start the work to get it done. So Strong Dads, the podcast, is about talking about the work, talking about the work that men need to do. that we need them to do.
Well, great. You just scared off every man that ever should listen to. They don't want to do the work.
And I think that's part of the problem that, it is intimidating. It is scary. It's that responsibility thing that chokes us out. We don't have maybe the freedom that we think we'd like to have, but that's the responsibility. And when we don't do it, we see some of the things that we've seen. And in terms of the downfalls in our culture.
But Hun, as you and I know, there is something more beautiful, something greater that God has planned. God does not like the buzzkill of joy.
Right. No.
He wants to give you freedom. He wants to help you experience peace and joy like you've never had before. So you may think it's your marriage or your family that's sucking the life out of you, but it might be your work. It might be those addictions that you have that are drawing you and pulling you away from your family. And so really, I love the Strong Dads podcast. I really encourage, and you can get it on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, on our website, rocksolidfamilies.org. So I really encourage you, all men, to tune in to that.
Well, and that's why I compared it to the Super Bowl, a coach for the Super Bowl, just because if I had to just work like I was working to get to a Super Bowl, but I never got a chance to get the reward of the Super Bowl, it would be like, why am I even doing this? And so the rewards for being a strong dad are outweigh everything else in terms of the work you go through.
That's a great comparison.
Anyway, we just want to continue to direct people towards our writings, our blogs that we do, Facebook stuff, the Beacon. Guys, if you like what you hear, share it. Please help us out. We're learning that the only way that this message gets out is if it gets shared.
Sure.
And that's just something that has got to be a general push from you and I as well as our listeners.
And if we're talking about something tonight or maybe on a previous show, if you're a regular Eagle Country listener and it sounds like way too hard or impossible for you personally, give us a call. We would love to come alongside you. And as Merrill said, we're not going to do the work, but gosh, there is so much hope out there, and folks are just not believing that there is, and that's sad. So there's change that's available.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay, let's get talking about topic.
Am I going to get tired just talking about the topic of physical health?
Well, you know what? I think it's kind of good. On purpose, I did not share a lot of this information because between the two of us, we both have our strengths and our weaknesses. We both have our niches. Exercise is more of my niche, and so a lot of things I'm going to talk about, you're going to go like, what? What did you say? And I want you to do that because I think that's what a lot of our listeners do. And so I want some of our conversation to just go back and forth with the questions that maybe listeners might have.
Right.
So we're going to talk about kind of being fit, but taking care of your body. And it's not going to be like just we're going to talk nutrition or we're going to talk about lifting weights. We're going to really talk about, as we get older, my brain still loves to do the stuff it did when it was 20, but my body is finding it more challenging. My knees hurt a lot, the back and things, get achy. But I still have those desires to do these different things. And so I know that many people have that same thing, like, man, why can't I do what I used to do? And as you talked about at the front of the show, some things we do just have to back off of a little bit, or we have to go about a different way. But one of my approaches to fitness has really been more from a personal experience in the physical therapy world and my own injuries. So
which you've had a lot of.
Which I've had my share. And some of them I did from maybe not doing the right thing, and some of them were just my body speaking to me. So I want to, just so our listeners know where I'm coming from, I want to give a little bit of my story because it also leads to really the progress of my movement into fitness. So I've always been into fitness and exercise. It was one of those weird things. I was wired that way. The rest of the family used to look at me like, you're going out for a run and it's 90 degrees. And it's like, yeah, well,
even
whatever.
Your girlfriend did.
Yeah. The one I married. And but I don't know why. I can't explain why. It's kind of in the wiring, all right? I don't force myself to do that. I was a swimmer and a cyclist and into triathlon. I loved running and hiking and lifting weights and all those things. When I was 32, though, up to the age of 32, I had never even had stitches. All right? I used to pride myself on that. Like, I had never had stitches. I know. I prided myself.
Exactly.
Yeah. And at 32, the summer there that I was 32, I had a very significant neck injury and was pinching my spinal cord and ended up having to have neck surgery and had a fusion between my 6th and 7th cervical vertebrae. Okay, so it's a C6, C7 fusion. And that took very well. The surgery went well. I healed up. And soon I was out doing my thing, and everything was good. When I was 35, I started getting a lot of the same symptoms back again, which kind of freaked me out. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And I go back in and hear the level of vertebrae just above that, C5 and C6, that had ruptured out and now was putting pressure on the nerves.
So for some people, they would just give up right there.
Yeah, I'm not that smart. And so I had a fusion done at that level. However, that fusion didn't take.
Yeah.
Okay?
I remember that too.
And so my neck was always kind of not comfortable. I'd get lots of problems with the neck, stiff necks, pains, different things going on. And so when I was 47, I finally went in and I had some major mishaps there that kind of put me to the side, wasn't functioning too well. And I went in and they had to do a fusion from my 4th cervical vertebrae all the way down through my 7th. So they fused. So I have one big long neck
I felt like
bone.
we could have been in the frequent flyer club where you like got discounts for the amount of neck surgeries you had.
Yeah, and you know what? And I don't take them lightly. It's a scary thing when you're messing with your spinal cord. After my last surgery, I came up with a condition called C5 palsy. Basically, I had the nerve that comes off the 5th cervical vertebrae in the neck came out, and it basically controls your chest and your shoulders and how your arms work. It was pinched and didn't function. And so I lost the use of my left hand. That was probably the scariest thing when that had happened. That prompted me into like, okay, what am I going to do now?
Well, especially when the physical therapist said that's probably as good as it's going to get. You can raise it above your head even.
Yeah, and I got to a certain level and he's like, we'll just have to see, but this is about where we are. And so I started doing things at home and started working out, like, what can I do? I started sliding weights around and this kind of thing. Anyway, long story short, I created a fitness product that we call now the Finisher. And the exercises, we call it finishing.
And where'd you get that?
And because so much of the exercise that I did, I knew I couldn't lift weight anymore because I had no hand strength, but I had to try to strengthen all of the muscles around the shoulder. And so to do that, I did a lot of circular motion. I did lots of angles and stuff. And I would, it was like finishing concrete.
Yeah.
So it'd be like I was moving concrete around.
So clever of you.
Oh, isn't it though? Yeah. And so, anyway, it just grew from there, and I found so much benefit. And the next thing you know, my shoulder started coming around, and I think I don't think I healed it as much as I created a better environment for my shoulder to heal by itself. And so it just grew, but it grew into an understanding of what fitness is.
Yeah, it really changed your philosophy, didn't it?
Yeah, and so it launched me into a fitness and training, a personal training world. And I want to just share a little bit about that. So my talk, when I work with clients and when we teach classes and we do our finishing classes, our exercise classes, it's really teaching people about, okay, how is your body currently moving? And what do you need to do to make it move better and more safely, and so you can continue to do it over the long haul? So there's three things that I really want our listeners to learn about why they have aches and pains and how their body needs to move.
So if you're just tuning in to Eagle Country and Rock Solid Radio, we are talking about what we think is one of the three pillars, one of the three legs of the stool that hold us together. And faith and family, we've talked a lot about. This one is fitness, and we believe that it is so important to really our overall health and the balance of our life. And so as Merrill's talking about, this was just a huge game changer for him, but also I think how he helps other people.
Yeah. And so again, our body is our tool.
Yeah.
And if it's not working right,
he says temple.
It is tough to do the work that we like to do. So anyway, I approach and I want my listeners out there, you guys out there that are listening, let's kind of understand. No, I don't like doing exercise, or I just go down and I lift some weights. if we don't understand why we're doing what we're doing, we can actually make things worse.
Right.
We can strengthen a bad habit.
And you've seen that before.
Right, and so we need to try to understand what we're doing. And so basically we break everything up into 3 different areas. Mobility, and that's how a joint moves or a limb moves.
Like a range of motion?
Range of motion, how well you go through it. Flexibility comes into that and all that. Stability. So there's mobility, then there's stability. And stability is how well you preserve that joint within its range of motion. So if you can imagine, if I have a big crane, and this crane's got this big old arm and is reaching out to pick up a heavy weight of some sort, and it goes to pick it up, but the operator forgets to put the stabilizers down in the ground to support it. It doesn't matter how big that lever arm is, it won't be able to pick up that weight.
Yeah,
and so
I understand.
So we have to make sure that we have the joint stable, so then that the bigger muscles, what we call the primary movers, they can go out and then pick up that heavy weight.
Okay.
And way too often, especially with our young athletes, way too often we strengthen big mobile muscles like biceps, right, and quadriceps, and these things that look good in the mirror.
Yeah.
But we do not do the
up.
stability part,
Yeah.
and so we end up wrecking our crane.
Yeah,
okay?
tearing rotator cuffs or,
Yeah. By the way, which I've done both of those due to,
shoulder
not
surgeries.
knowing these things.
So we got mobility, stability, and what's the other one?
And then, so the last one is what we call work capacity. And, we have lots of people go in and they get big and they get strong and all those kinds of things, but they still get injured. And the reason why they oftentimes get injured is because your work capacity is your basically your endurance.
Right.
So your ability to do this work over and over. Like you talked about earlier about like hiking, okay? Well, if I can teach you to walk, you should be able to hike, right? Well, not necessarily, because if you are hiking for an extended time, when muscles tire out, both stability and mobility start to go awry. And when that happens, injury happens. And so work capacity is basically building the endurance for our body to do those things.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So anyway, those are the big things that we try to work through with people and try to teach them why that's important, okay? And a big amount of our work is with the back.
Yeah.
How many? Raise your hand if you've ever had back pain. Okay, I see you right now, thousands of you. You have your hand up, right?
Yeah.
Hun, you had back pain, and this
Absolutely.
is the thing that actually got you to see what I was doing in my work.
Yeah.
You want to describe a little bit of that?
Yeah. When you were describing finishing and showing me, I was just kind of like,
Yeah,
whatever.
no, that's not what you said, actually. You were like, oh my gosh, she's got another stupid idea.
Well, you were like on the floor on your hands and knees, like sliding weights, and it just didn't look very appealing. But then when I was having back issues, you kind of came to me and said that my back was very weak and that my core, I had to stabilize the core. And so that really interests me. And so I started to do finishing, and I did see a difference, and it affected my whole body and my overall fitness level because of strengthening that core and back. I didn't realize how important, and you have done tons of research with different physical therapists and sports medicines that talk about that.
Yeah, well, you had some epidural shots.
Yes.
You'd had some physical therapy.
Yep.
You had all these things, and not that those are bad. We do not say no to any of that. But what we do have to teach people is if you don't have the whole package of stability and mobility and work capacity, if you don't put that together in your body, you're going to continue. So one of the cool things that we've seen in our exercise of finishing are the number of people that have come to us who had temperamental backs, is what I'd call them. Like, they used the rake one day to rake some leaves, and the next thing you know, for the next month and a half, they're like fighting this back issue. And so the people that we've helped to say, you know what, I can go out and rake all day long, or I can go do this, I can do that. I'm playing golf again.
Right.
So these are the things that really have kind of lit my fire.
And if you are out there listening in Eagle Country and you're over the age of 40, and you're not really into lifting heavy weights and pumping up, and looking all bulk and, rock solid, whatever. If you're just trying to be healthy and be able to move, which a lot of folks in our fitness classes want, hey, I just want to feel good. I want to be able to do things. And that's what they've been saying they've been able to do, is that they can stand on their feet all day. They can go hiking up those mountains, and that they feel good when they're done.
Yep.
Sure, they're tired, but that it's a different kind of tired.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned, I'm going to say more of our master's division, our 40s and up. But one of the challenges that we actually run into, and one of the fun groups that I like to work with in the personal training world, are the young kids, the 13, 14, 15,
or developing
16.
bad habits.
Yeah, because they go into weight rooms or join a club or even at their high schools, which I believe all these coaches are well-intended. But when I've got 30 guys and we're saying, okay, everybody's going to go do a squat, and of course when you've got young egos involved and they're all like, well, how much are you going to put on, And the kid has no concept of first what a squat is, and secondly, what their body actually what they're asking of their body.
Yeah.
And so bad patterns develop. And the next thing you know, by the time they're a junior in high school, they've got this achy pain in their back and everything. And so teaching them how to move, what the balance is between mobility and stability is critical to them, not just being strong, but then being a very good athlete.
Yeah, and that's where you've been working with personally, one-on-one personal training with some young athletes, trying to help give them some good patterns, some good tools that they could take away and use in their sport and other training, as well as some older folks who maybe are dealing with some disabilities, some limitations, and you're saying, okay, let's take what you got. You even have one that you're working with in a wheelchair, and so you deal with what you can and try to make that the best.
Yeah. And, one of the things that we're seeing, and this you hear it all the time, but several of my youngsters that come in they are so weak in their center, which I don't even like to call it the core. Everybody, you can strengthen your core. It's more than that. It's the torso. I always talk about strengthening, from the pelvis area up to the shoulders. That's your torso area. And the core is thought of as like that six-pack ab. And honestly, if we just think about that, we're actually in many cases doing more harm than good.
Okay.
I want you to think about the whole torso, and around that spine is a drum.
Okay.
A drum that surrounds that spine. And we've got to work all the way around that drum because our goal here is to not move the spine any more than it needs to move, and to teach our limbs to move, our shoulders and our hips to do the work rather than that spine. Our spine is just the skeleton that holds us vertically.
Right. Well, I'm glad you're the personal trainer, not me, because I totally had that wrong.
You got it? You got it now?
Yeah.
You got it?
Taking notes.
Yeah. So, and I'm seeing with our younger folks, they spend so many hours in the seat at school. Then they come home and they spend a lot of hours on TV or video games. And, I have one particular client right now that they look like they're perfectly healthy, but the back strength is so weak that it's dangerous because they're still trying to play the sports that they play, and there's some simple functional movement that they're not doing, and so we're getting them there.
Yeah. So, Hun, let's talk about what do we want our listeners to walk away with? What do we got to give them some nuggets that they can take with them. In this area of fitness and personal wellness.
Yeah. So the first thing is I want you to decide, well, what's my level of fitness that I want and I need? And so I think that's important. If we're not training people to play NFL football most frequently. And so what do you want to do? Once you decide what it is that you want to do, then it's really a good idea and when we're talking about physical movement, it's a good idea to hook up with somebody that you trust. Whether it's a personal trainer, whether it's a coach, even if it's a good friend who's fairly knowledgeable, hook up with that person and walk through some basic things. I like to use Mike Reynolds, which you can look up Mike's work. Mike Reynolds is a physical therapist out of the Boston area, and he is the owner and operator of Champion Performance. And so he does a great job of basically running through some of the things we're talking about. But he first says, let's do a movement assessment. So let's see how your body moves, whether you're 13 years old or you're 73. Because sometimes just because you've been doing it for 73 years doesn't mean you've been doing it right.
Yeah, a lot of bad habits.
Yeah, and so let's assess how your joints move. And then at that point, let's talk about mobility. Like, what do I need to help a joint move better or differently to be safer?
Gotcha.
So we do a movement assessment. Then we talk about how we can improve the mobility within a joint. And then we talk about what he calls it control or dynamic stability. Like when I go down to pick up something off the floor, what needs to be stable and what needs to be moving. So we talk about, okay, so teaching them how to move and how to control
And I love
things.
that with finishing, that we really work on a lot of those stabilizing muscles around the big joints that help us to not twist an ankle or torque a knee, you know. But what are the key factors that our listeners need to have if they want to get in shape? Like, what are some of the things that they should keep in mind when they are thinking about personal wellness or fitness?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is to understand that this is a progression. That
it's not all going to happen in a day.
It's not going to happen at once. To understand that exercise is a way of life, a lifestyle. This is the most frustrating part for non-exercisers because they're like, if I get in shape, it'll be good. And it's like if I finally lose 30 pounds and I just go back to my old ways, it'll be great. No, you lose
it needs to be a change of lifestyle.
Right, and so it's a progression, and it progresses from easy to more challenging, okay? The next thing is understanding accommodation. That just because maybe you can't do something that you used to do, it doesn't mean you can't do.
Right. And I love that because, and I want you to say that again, because there's so many people out there that have gotten frustrated or have injuries or maybe limitations, disabilities, and they really think they're done. They have to like turn it in and give up. That's not it at all. Yeah,
there's so many different ways. Even like with our own general workouts, we accommodate certain movement patterns and how we work, how we lift. So, and it usually takes somebody to help direct you to that. So that's why I say it's important that you get with someone.
You know, you have a client who just was diagnosed with a very disabling disease, and it could have been the death sentence for her, where she just feels like she can't do anything.
Yeah, it was very depressing.
But she came into you and said, I want to still be active, so help me do that right.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah, and I had to kind of work with their doctors and physical therapists to say, okay, help me, because our goal is to help this person, not to just throw out whatever I've been doing with all the other people, you know. So we accommodate.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, is with fitness, we have to understand the value of rest.
I got that down.
Yeah. and rest in the sense of allowing our body to rejuvenate and to rebuild. And so a lot of times, especially with our younger kids, we get them in there and they're out working 6 days a week,
sometimes
lifting weights or whatever.
2 sports a day.
Oh, yeah. We see a lot of that kind of stuff. And then we get the overuse injuries. And this would be the thing that I'm more guilty of for me personally. This is why, you know, I've not allowed the rejuvenation of areas to
you know,
heal.
and that reminded me, Hun, of a earlier show we did, Kids in Sports, with, you know, Dr. Greg
Meyer.
Meyer from Children's Hospital. And I really encourage you, if you have an interest in this in your students, your children in sports and overuse and the right way to do it, man, check out that that was a great show we did with him. And he was really helpful in what we need to do as parents to help our kids succeed.
Yeah. And this was part of our show when we worked with him. This is kind of one of the things I kind of want to end with, the idea. The most unhealthy thing that we are doing right now. And you and I are doing it right now.
Yes.
Okay, is sitting.
Yep.
And you know, it used to be that we'd work all day and we couldn't wait to sit because it allowed the rest feature to happen. Now we sit all day, and we have to look for ways to move. Okay, and so now we have people standing at their desk or walking in. You know, taking
actually
walk breaks.
even stand on a stability ball.
I
when
stand
you
on stability balls.
That's crazy.
You know,
I don't know how you do it.
Well, mostly because I get bored and I need something. But so we've got to quit that sitting.
Yeah.
All right. So here we go. We're going to wrap it up. We've got a challenge for you. I want you to, when you quit listening to this, immediately, I want you to think about, okay, assess where you're at. What do you want to improve on in terms of your fitness? You know, where do you want to be in the next 6 months, in 5 years? What do you want to be able to do? I mean, I want to be able to run around with the grandkids and play golf and build things. I like that sort of thing. Get yourself a helper of some sort, whether it's a personal trainer or a friend or a coach. Get somebody to help drive you with that. And then start with some of those good habits. So if there's anything that we can do to help, you can reach out to me at hutch@rocksolidfamilies.org. Give me a shout out, I'll see what we can do to help you out, or you can call me at 812-576-7625 and we can set you up. I'll do a movement assessment on you and just figure out why your body's not doing what it's supposed to do. All right, we're going to wrap it up and just say thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to Maxwell Construction, Greendale Cinemas, Mansfield Insurance Agency, and Erie Insurance. Thank you for helping us out, and get out there and make it a great day.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Rock Solid Radio. For help or more information about what you've heard this evening, contact us at rocksolidfamilies.org or call us at 812-576-ROCK. That's 812-576-ROCK. Again, a huge thanks to our sponsors, Maxwell Construction, Greendale Cinemas, Mansfield Insurance Agency, and Erie Insurance. If you have questions you'd like answered on air, or you want to chime in on something you've heard this evening, go to our Facebook page, Rock Solid Families. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to tune in next Sunday evening at 7:30 for another episode of Rock Solid Radio. I'm Linda Hutchinson, and for my husband Merrill and I, thanks for tuning in to your hometown radio, Eagle Country 99.3.